When you talk about the top point guards in the NBA, you got to start with the same names. Steph Curry, leader of the Golden State Warriors, back-to-back NBA MVP, most hated or most loved guy on Twitter, depending on who you're talking to. And he's also rewritten the book on what is considered to be an acceptable shot in basketball. Next up, we see Russell Westbrook, who has drawn comparisons to Oscar Robertson for his ability to stuff the stat sheet. Some people believe that he could average a triple-double this season because of his relentless mentality, which admittingly does get him into trouble sometimes, but it also makes Westbrook one of the toughest as well as most intimidating guys to guard in the NBA and a one-man wrecking crew. And then there's Chris Paul, who might not have the shooting of Steph Curry or the athleticism of Russell Westbrook, but you can consider him the most well-rounded point guard in the NBA because he does everything well and he's a fantastic leader. And in my opinion, once you get past these three guys, that's when the conversation really starts about who are the top points in the NBA are. The normal names are Kyrie Irving, who is a fantastic scorer and one of the most clutch players in the league today. There's also Damian Lillard, who has made the Trailblazers a key team in the Western Conference when a lot thought they couldn't. There's also Kyle Lowry, who's in a similar mold to Chris Paul as a two-way player. You can make a case for these guys, but I want to make a case for John Wall of the Washington Wizards, who shares similar athleticism to Russell Westbrook. He's been one of the best playmakers in the league for many years now, and when you look at just how much he is carrying with the Washington Wizards, I think you can make a real case for him, so let's dive into it. Of course, with Wall, his calling card entering the NBA was his speed, specifically with the ball in his hands, and he is one of the most effective players in the league today in the open floor. If you miss a basket, if it comes off the rim, you better find John Wall immediately, because his ability to jet down floor, get past the defense into the paint, besides Russell Westbrook, not many rival that in the NBA today. But with John Wall, I mentioned of course his playmaking, it might not be him who's actually scoring on a fast break. He can very easily find his teammates, as he's averaged over 10 assists per game for 3 seasons now, double digits. So this puts a lot of pressure on an NBA defense, because not only do you have to make sure that you pick up Wall so he doesn't kill you and go to the rim, but if you leave even one guy open, he's going to find him. So if your transition defense is not there when you're facing John Wall, you might as well just spot the Wizards like 4 points right when the game starts. Now let's put his passing into perspective. Wall is 26 years old, he's about to enter his 7th NBA season, and he's averaged 9 assists per game, including 10 over the last 3 years. If John Wall plays for the next 7 years and has no significant injuries, retires at the age of 33, which is a little young, let's be honest, he would be around 9,000 career assists, which would currently make him number 8 all-time in assists ahead of Gary Payton. So in other words, Wall is currently on pace to being one of the best passers that the history of basketball has ever seen. That's the kind of guy that I want running my team, as well as my offense. And speaking of offense, John Wall is not just a freelance player, he can lead a team when it comes to X's and O's as well, because he's pretty much born to play the pick and roll, because when we look at that athleticism and the passing ability, but he's also damn good at scoring inside, and next to LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, he might be the third most intimidating presence going downhill towards the rim. I mean, if he's coming at you, good luck if you want to take a charge. Your best bet is to get out of the way, unless you want to end up on a poster. He's damn good at getting inside, finishing at the rim, finishing at the basket, getting to the free throw line. He can finish through contact, and it's a big reason why, on top of those 9 assists, he's also averaging 18 points for his career. And he's so good in the pick and roll, we see a guy like Marcin Gortat, who's developed a really good on-court chemistry with John Wall, and it seems of all Wall's teammates, Gortat is the one who he's really clicked with the most. And it's just a testament to how good John Wall is that he can make a guy like Gortat, who doesn't really have any natural offensive abilities, a real impact player for the Wiz. But at the same time, this also shows just how much of a load John Wall has had to carry when his best teammate has pretty much been a mid-tier center in the NBA today. And we're going to talk about it. John Wall has been asked to do an extreme amount for the Wizards. Let's look at Gortat again. Nice player, no doubt. But how many centers in the NBA would you rather have on your team than Marcin Gortat? Quite a bit, right? It's nice that Wall has been able to develop a relationship with him, but there's definitely better guys out there. John Wall's power forward for a long time was Nene, who is not horrible offensively. I would play him about 20 minutes a game tops. But to be my starter and asked to play any sort of defense, I mean, again, how many power forwards are you taking over Nene? That's what John Wall had to work with. Now, I would say that Paul Pierce was a very good addition for the Wizards in the one season he was with them, currently on the Los Angeles Clippers, but Pierce gave the Wizards outside shooting, some shot creating, leadership, as well as some clutch play. Now, you might be asking yourself, where's Bradley Beal? Well, I'm wondering the same exact thing, because Bradley Beal seems like the perfect shooting guard next to John Wall because, one, he's a very good outside shooter who could space the floor, and if Wall is attacking you inside and you have to send help defense and you leave Bradley Beal open, you're pretty much dead because that's a guaranteed 3 points. But he's also very athletic as well, and he could run the floor with John Wall on fast breaks too, because again, like I mentioned, John Wall is perhaps the fastest guy in the league with the ball in his hands. Bradley Beal would fit into that beautifully. So what's the problem? Let me read you Beal's games played over the past 2 seasons. In 2015, he played 63 games. Last season, he played 55. That's a lot. He missed 27 games on a team that won 41. I mean, if these two were on the court for the entire season, the Wizard might win 50 games last year. And it's too bad because the potential of John Wall and Bradley Beal together, it has to be one of the best backcourts in the NBA when you look at what Wall does and what Beal does and their ability to play off of each other. And I also believe that would give John Wall a guy who can actually command some attention from the defense, which I think would help him in the one criticism you can throw at him, which is his outside shooting. He managed to climb up to 35% from 3 last year, but if he actually had another guy who the defense would focus on, I guarantee his percentage would go up. It's tough to shoot well when the defense can just stare at you the whole time. And what's real disappointing is when we've seen Bradley Beal and John Wall together for extended periods of time, it's gotten pretty damn well. They could have made the Eastern Conference Finals back in 2015. Remember in round 1 when they went up against the Toronto Raptors and all it took was Paul Pierce saying that the Raptors didn't have the it factor and they were pretty much checked out of that series. They swept them in 4 games. And then they saw the 60-win Atlanta Hawks in round 2, and they took them to 6 games, but John Wall also missed half of the series with an injury. You have to assume that if John Wall doesn't get injured, it's probably a different outcome. What's also interesting is Bradley Beal was a monster in that series. He put up 25 points, shot like 39% from 3. He definitely has a lot of skill, but when Ramon Sessions becomes your starting point guard for half of a playoff series, your chances of winning are pretty damn small. So Atlanta was still able to edge him out. Even then, they were close games, man. John Wall, if he was in that series, I'm pretty sure we would have had a different scenario. And then the Wizards would have moved on to the conference finals, and do I think they would have had a chance against the Cleveland Cavaliers? Probably not, but still, they should have been more successful if it wasn't for an ill-timed injury. So you see where I'm going at this point. I think John Wall is great. He is on pace to being one of the top assist guys in the history of the NBA. He's an overall point guard, two-way player, defender, great at attacking the basket, has improved as a shooter, but due to some circumstances of average talent and his one potential all-star teammate never being completely healthy, he hasn't been able to really take the Wizards over the top. Looking to the future, I think Otto Porter can be a nice two-way efficient scorer for them. There's also Markieff Morris, who I think can be a pick-and-roll and pick-and-pop option for Wall, which is great. But a big one is, can Bradley Beal stay healthy? Because I think if he can, he and John Wall can really wreak havoc on the NBA. So there you have it. I've made my case why I believe John Wall is an elite point guard in this league. He's done a fantastic job with what he's been given. And unfortunately, what he's been given or what he's been left with due to some injuries really hasn't been that great. When you look at some of his counterparts at the point guard position, Steph Curry has been playing with some of the best players in the league for a few seasons now. Russell Westbrook for a long time was with the second best player in the league, in my opinion, in Kevin Durant. Chris Paul's got Blake Griffin to throw alley-oops to, who's also potentially a top 10 player. Kyle Lowry's all-star shooting guard actually stays healthy. Kyrie Irving has the luxury of playing with the best player in the NBA in LeBron James. And CJ McCollum is not too shabby next to Damian Lillard. Now, of course, those point guards are all great, and they deserve the praise they've gotten, but they've definitely been given a better hand than John Wall. Hopefully his fortunes can turn around.